Okay, we're live. Hello, Augies Worldwide. I'm Dave Casler, amateur radio call sign KE0OG, here with another weekly episode of our Thursday evening Mountain Time, U.S. Mountain Time, live stream. And just happy to have everybody here. Happy to have a chance to chat and learn from each other and all that sort of thing. So welcome. We've got a few people in. Don Zed says, good evening from the Twin Cities, 36 degrees and clear. It is 43 here with only 30% humidity. The dew point is 12, so and the barometer is high, 30.05, and holding. And it was a gorgeous day today. Glenn Martin from the far west Missouri area. N0 QFT, Chuck Schreiber, good evening, Dave, and Augies Worldwide, N5 KVO. From the hill country of South Texas, a little chilly here at 46 degrees, back to 80 by the weekend. And we've heard of places in the 90s across the country. Here it is February. Although I will tell you, when I was living in Southern California many years ago, it was over 100 on a January day. It was just plain hot. Okay, back to 80 by the weekend. Terrence from 2 Echo Zero, India Papa Kilo. Hello from London. 4 degrees centigrade and an extremely quiet night. It's a bit eerie out there, actually. Ooh, I've heard all these stories about how things suddenly get very quiet before the tornado hits. So I don't think you get tornadoes in London, but just in case, be on the lookout. Warren Baker, hello from Chattanooga, WA4BAK. 44 here and partly cloudy. Joseph, hello Dave. Casler, just getting off work. 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the afternoon/evening shift. I used to work swing from basically 4 to midnight for Blue Cross/Blue Shield of Southern California. And my job was to sit at an old-fashioned teletype machine and send out claim information. Communications back then were so expensive that people would find ways to code everything so that all you had to send was this highly compressed message. And I worked that job till I went into the Air Force. And I don't know that I have fond memories of it, but I did get pretty good at doing the teletype. So they were weird. They wouldn't let me. I was typing all these things in, which were highly coded, and a single mistake could really throw everything awry. So at first they let me not only type it in, but it would print on the teleprinter. And if I thought I had hit a character wrong, I could go look. And, with the way teletype works, if you make a mistake, you can backspace the tape till you're over it and hit letters. Letters code is all 5 holes punched. In other words, it was a no-op. Because if you just went into letters, you were in letters already. You just went into letters, and it skips that. And that's a very good way. You could get whole strings of things like that. And what would happen is the machine would cycle but not do anything. It would put itself in letters, but it was probably already there, because we used that a lot. So anyway, it was interesting working on this old teletype. I think it was a Model 28. We had a tape punch. Also, there was a machine there that would receive at Are you ready for this? 9600 baud. I mean, that was hot stuff back then. Would receive via Western Union at 9600 baud and write to an old IBM tape, you know, the big round tapes. And it would write to that. And then this was coming from the National Blue Cross Blue Shield. And then they would put it into a machine which would read it into the computers. And what they were getting from where this was working, if somebody, say from Blue Cross Ohio, got sick in Southern California, Southern California would handle the claims work. And then we would request approval from their home. And so it was one line of highly compressed information. And that was sent to them, and then they would look at that and then send a message back to us the same way. It would take a day or two. And then I had previously worked in the department where we got these slips back. They were printed out. We had to find the right claim and staple the approval thing to the clip. And I got so good at that, we would be done by about 10:30 in the morning, because we were just very efficient. And anyway, it was what I did before I went in the Air Force. Had to be something associated with communications. Okay, 4 degrees centigrade to Warren Bay. So we've told Terrence to watch out for tornadoes. Warren Baker, hello from Chattanooga, where they do actually get tornadoes. WA4BAK, it's 44 degrees here and partly cloudy. Joseph says, hello, Dave Casler, just getting off work. Robert Thompson, hi, Dave, from Hazard, Kentucky. Now, do you have a feudal system there where it's possible you have earls and knights and dukes? Any dukes of Hazard? Interesting. Joseph, and I'll be driving, so I wish I could stay 73. It'll be at the field day. Then June, I'll be there on the 22nd. That's a Saturday. Take care. Okay, well, thank you, Joseph. Lefty says, good evening, Dave and Augies worldwide. Davenport, Iowa, windy and 42. Jeff Biggs, would a compromise of, let's see, 3.0 SWR average be worth an antenna that covers 6 through 80? You might be looking at, I'm guessing, an antenna that I know that would cover 6 through 80 would be an end-fed half-wave 80-10, and it will cover all those bands. Of course, it's 125 feet long, but normally you'd get the unun up on the top of something, and you can stretch it down as a sloper. Or I did this as recommended by the documentation, made an inverted V out of it. And I kept the ends about 7 feet off the ground so that a person wouldn't get strangled if they walked into that thing. And it worked really well. So now I'm wondering about the 3-to-1 SWR, because my memory, if my memory serves me correctly, we were pretty much under 2-to-1 on all the bands that it would cover. From 40 on up, it covered the whole band. I'm not sure about 10. On 80 meters, it definitely did not cover the whole band. It covered about 50 kilohertz of the band. And with the 80-10, it would cover the low part, which is where you have whisper and FT8 and CW and all that sort of stuff. But if you preferred 75 meters up at the higher end of the band where there's a lot of voice, they sold a 75-10, and what they put in it was a little tiny capacitor, high voltage capacitor in there that would just, since the first part of the antenna managed most of the stuff, that second part was kind of dedicated to 75, and it worked. We tried that here. We took the ARRL end-fed half-wave kit, which consists of the unun. Now, the only objection I have to that kit is you have to drill your own holes in the plastic. And knowing how bad a craftsman I am, we went downstairs, got the drill press out, and I've got this vise that weighs about 3 tons that sits on the table on the drill press that will hold that box in there very tight. And then we very, very, very carefully put in the drill. It was one of these drills that was narrow at the bottom and gradually widened out in steps. So we took that to the right step. And then we put all the parts in, wound the toroid, soldered everything, and put it up. And it did what the league said it would do. It worked on 40, 20, 15, and 10. Now, the thing, though, if you looked at the kit is provided by a company, and since that thing's out on a pole right now, I can't tell you which company, but it says right on there, 80 through 10. So we experimented and added wire so that it went out to about 125 feet. And lo and behold, it covered 80 meters. So we wanted to try this idea of putting that capacitor in there. So we measured out where it should be. We took it down, put an insulator in there. I have a little tray of high voltage capacitors and put it in there. And the answer is yes, it does bring up the end of that thing to 75 meters. It did work. And it's a very inexpensive way of getting on all bands. Now it's up right now as a sloper, pointed east. Now I did some modeling of this thing in EasyNEC, and I thought sloper, in fact the league publication says the sloper mostly transmits toward the downslope. Modeling sure didn't bear that out. Modeling had it almost unidirectional. So what do you trust? A bunch of hams or a bunch of scientists up at Lawrence Livermore? And the answer is I'm not really sure. But I put it on Whisper for quite a while. In fact, it's been on Whisper for about 24 hours. Let's bring that up here where you can see it. We got to go there first, then we can go there. Okay, PSK reporter map. This is the map of what it's been working on Whisper on the PSK reporter site. And as you can see, here we are in the middle. Well, we're not in the middle, we're here. But look at it, it's doesn't have much to the south, although that's broadside to the thing, broadside up this way, because it's east-west. And we get a whole bunch up here, a whole bunch here, a whole bunch here. We picked up somewhere in Brazil. We picked up in Europe, and over here it will be in Australia, in Adelaide. And this is I think it's a 250 milliwatt transmitter. I'd have to look at it again. It's the Whisper, here it is right here. It's the Whisper desktop transceiver, and it's made 300 milliamps, that's not much. Zactec, made in Sweden. And I ordered this from Sweden. It looks like this on the front. It's got a little block diagram. It runs off of the just a USB cable. And you can set it all up on your computer very easily. So I have that antenna set up. So it works on 80, 40, 30, 20, 17, 15, 12, and 10. And just for kicks, since it's so little power, I have it do it on 60 too. 60 is definitely not a resonant point on that antenna. 60 is a weird band. It's not really very harmonically related to other ham bands. And we're not primary on that band anyway. And there's only 5 channels, and they are real channels, where you have to be right square down the middle of it. It's really weird. Unfortunately, that means there can only be one CW signal, and it has to be exactly centered in that band. You're in the channel. And the same with RTTY, PSK31, whatever you're going to put over it. The league has been gently suggesting for a while to the FCC that they allow multiple CW signals, for example, in one of those frequencies. And the FCC has turned its deaf ear to that, so we haven't gotten anything. So, let's see. Good evening, Dave and Augies, worldwide, Davenport. Jeff Biggs would have come. Well, you're the one who asks this. If it's 3.0 SWR and you have a modern rig, use your tuner. Usually it will tune out a 3-to-1 SWR, tune it down close to 1-to-1. If you don't have a tuner in your rig, use an external tuner. Okay, and it will work. I mean, if it works for you, it works. But it sounds to me like if it covers 6 to 80, it's either an end-fed dipole or it's magic. If the brand on the thing is Hogwarts, you know it's not for real, but there are antennas that do that. Okay, Han Solo 989, KQ4OAN, sending big ups to KE0OG. And Roz Brown sends a super chat from, for Roz Brown, $20 with a heart up in the corner. I am taken. My wife's watching TV right now. But thank you anyway. I got a very interesting email today from Riley Hollingsworth. I should share it with you, but I don't know. Let's see. W0NBG, hi Dave from Lakewood, Colorado. Thanks again for your amateur extra videos. I am studying hard to upgrade. And Roz, I wish you all the best in that. And I'm sure you'll be very excited to do that. Now, of course, getting on the air is your first priority as a general. And then studying to upgrade can mean a great deal. It really is. When you know the underlying material, it's talking about some pretty esoteric things like complex numbers, and which didn't used to be part of the amateur radio world. When I look at all the old stuff in the old handbook, they would talk about resistive loads. And then they would talk about inductive and capacitive, but they never brought them together into a single theory of Ohm's law. But more recently, simply because there are so many antenna analyzers out there, the antenna analyzer will not only tell you the absolute value of the impedance of the antenna, which will be read in ohms, but there will also be a phase angle. And so I guess they had to upgrade all those things so people could understand what phase angle meant. And now it's there. It's absolutely fascinating. This stuff just blew me away the first time I encountered it in college. I was introduced to complex numbers, I think through my engineering. I may have had a little bit in in my math, in my undergraduate degrees in math. And they talked about, I think as a footnote, complex numbers and quaternions. When Maxwell wrote his first equations, there were not 4, there were 24. I may have that number slightly off. Maybe it's 20. Different equations expressed in quaternions. Now, a quaternion is a triply complex number. It's got a real part, and then it has JA, KB, whatever the next letter is. I always have to run through them in order. L, I guess. So you had 3 complex axes and 1 real axis. And the math for it gets weird. And some people stoutly maintain, that the whole idea of quaternions is self-contradicting. It's very easy to get, 1 equals minus 1 out of the thing. And so they are not used to speak of right now. There are, I'm sure, some problems where it's very helpful. But the idea of a single complex field, well, a single complex, if you look at the J, you can think of it as the complex operator or simply an entirely different number system. It becomes, in that sense, an operator. The J operator, I in mathematics. The J operator, what follows, is considered complex and doesn't combine directly with the resistive part. So you have a resistive part and a reactive part. And the reactive part is divided into inductive and capacitive. And inductance and capacitance, when they equal, I gotta get this right, when the inductive reactance and the capacitive reactance are the same number, you have a resonant circuit. They just keep bouncing power back and forth between them. The only thing that'll stop that from happening is the resistance in the lines, which eventually dissipate as heat, the energy in there. So you put a little amplifier in there, bring it back around out of phase, and just keep that thing going. You have an oscillator. That's how we make frequencies. Used to make frequencies. Okay, so Roz, congratulations to you. Best of luck with your upgrade. Jordan Hoffman, should a new ham buy an expensive antenna if I can afford it and I can grow into, or start small and cheap? I have a very simple answer for that. If you're a new ham, you're not ready for a gain antenna. Now, I did a video a couple weeks ago on a concept called unity gain. It means a gain of 1. It's not losing signal, it's not gaining signal, it's not squashing signal into a certain space. It's just basically a dipole. So unity based on a dipole. So obviously the dipole's a unity gain antenna. Okay. And you can make a dipole for $10 or $15. Well, add another $5 for the SO239 connector. And I've showed that several times on this channel. I showed how you could make from wire from Home Depot with some plastic pipe with holes drilled at the right points and create a fan dipole. And we built one. We put it up out there as an inverted V, and it worked great. We got it all tuned up. It worked on 40, covered all of 40, all of 20, and all of the important part of 10, the lower part. Now, 15 has a harmonic relationship with 40 meters. So a 40-meter antenna is a half wavelength long when fed with 40 meters, 7 megahertz. But 15 meters, when it hits that antenna, it's a 3/2 arrangement. So it's like 3 dipoles connected end to end. And our antenna basically, because of that, picked up 15 meters for free. So it was a 4-band antenna. And we spent $25 on it. The thing is, what you're looking for as a new ham on HF is a unity gain antenna. Now, here's why I recommend this antenna. It'll be omnidirectional, okay? So you don't have to turn a rotator to pick somebody up. That's a skill you can learn later, because it's a complexification of what you are trying to do, and becomes, I don't know, just difficult to deal with. I've noticed that with my hex beam. It's an annoyance if I pick up somebody in California and the thing's pointed at New York. I've got to swing that signal around, meanwhile trying to keep contact with this guy till I get the antenna pointed in his direction. So one way to do it is to listen on an omnidirectional antenna. Now, how about a vertical? There are all different kinds of ways to do things, and let me tell you, the lengths to which people will go, it's QST, for a unity gain antenna. Unity gain, same gain as a dipole. Okay, same gain as a dipole. And these people right here, Precise RF, make what they call mag loops. They're technically small HF loops, but everybody calls them mag loops, so that's what everybody calls them. Here are 3 antennas of equal gain, plus another one down here at the bottom. 3 antennas of equal gain. Now, this first one is $535. And you have to sit there right next to it and tune it. Then there is a Pro mag loop that will for $1,335. It has the identical gain of the previous antenna, but what it has is some automated features to help you tune it, and the antenna can be outside and you can be inside. Then they have, are you ready for this? Right here. $3,025 for a unity gain antenna. Now this will handle 100 watts. Well, the MFJ mag loop will handle 100 watts and has for a couple decades. I have the tuner for it right up there, because you can set it to semi-automatically tune in the shack, and the antenna can be way up on the roof. And the only cable between the two is the coax, because the thing sends its signaling to the motor to go one way or another up to the antenna. And I got that antenna before I really had channel funds. It was $550 or something. It's now closer to 800. But that antenna will cover up to 100 watts, so regular. Whereas these others that are shown here, this one will handle 45 watts output power, 45 watts. This next one, 45 watts. And it isn't until you get here that it's 100 watts. Okay, now, if you look at a page on my website, and we'll go there right now, screen. Okay, let's go to MFJ and magnetic loop antenna. Oh, I didn't want to put it there. I'm going to put it here. Magnetic loop tuner. Okay, we're going to have to come up over here. Just mag loop. Lupo. Well, not going to get me anything. This is the super high Q. There we go. Right there. That's it, right there. Okay. This antenna will tune automatically, semi-automatically from the shack. And it has the full-size capacitor, and you can adjust the loop in here. You can mount it vertically or horizontally, and it is $719. And so this has basically the same functionality as that one that sells for $3,000. So why not get something a little cheaper? Now, if we go on my web page to Casler.com and we put the word, where is it here? I'm gonna just put behind this the word reference. Okay, now this is my reference design for a general station. So here are specific things you could buy. If you bought everything according to the reference station, you would have a real nice station that you could grow into. In fact, you wouldn't be done with it for quite a while. Now look at what I recommend for the antenna right here. I said at least 40 and 20 because those are the really heavily used bands. And no external tuner is required. The MFJ 2010 off-center fed dipole. Let's take a look at that on MFJ's website. And that was the 2010. Okay, here it is right here. This will hold. This right here will allow you to get on 40 and 20 and 10 and 6 up to 300 watts. And look at the price. Not even $90, about $90. Okay, a couple tanks full of gas and get you that antenna right there. And let me tell you about that antenna. That antenna is a unity gain antenna. It's a dipole. It's an off-center fed dipole. Let me get this back over here. Okay, it's a off-center fed dipole. So my reaction to you is save your money. Because to get an antenna that does any better than unity gain, now we're talking about a directional antenna. The way high power antennas work is they take all the radiation that goes all the way around and they focus it in one direction, just like a flashlight. Okay, so the problem is that means that on the sides and in the back, you don't hear much. But if you're pointed in the right direction, like say you want to work Europe or something like that, then yeah, it works. Probably the least expensive of the directional antennas would be a hex beam. I have a hex beam. Like I said, I don't call CQ on it. I call CQ with the vertical antenna that I have, which is a unity gain antenna. Now, interestingly, I paid, let's see, the antenna, it's from Step IR. It's called the Step IR Big IR. And it's an antenna that um, uses their copper tape technology to tune to the band, and it's a very expensive antenna. And they asked me if I wanted to, do a deal with them. So I paid them $1,000, and that was out of the $2,500 worth of stuff that they sent me. And Brad Smith, N6GR, came up from Alamogordo, because he has one, came up from Alamogordo and helped me put it in. I should say, rather, that I helped him put it in, because he really knew what he was doing. I was lost on this thing. But it's a very nice setup and is my primary reference antenna, because I compare every other antenna I use to that vertical. Okay, because it really is a well-built, thoroughly sturdy antenna. Now, how much money can you pay for unity gain antenna? The answer is, obviously from what I've just shown you, as much as you want. Now, if you pay for these extra little features, the question comes, what are you getting in addition to the antenna gain that is of value to you? These antennas that I showed you earlier are extremely good solutions for limited space backyards, for HOA problems, because nobody knows what that round thing is. In fact, I have a picture somewhere. A guy put in the MFJ antenna about 10 feet in the air out back, wrapped it with fake greenery, and hung a birdhouse from the middle of it, and told everybody it was a birdhouse holder. Well, it was his transmit antenna, and it worked fine for him. So if that is, for example, of great importance to you, if you're an apartment dweller, and I just got a question from a person who lives on the 9th floor and wants to know what to do. And frankly, I would steer him in the direction of a mag loop. I know it's expensive, but not only now that reference station antenna takes 66 feet to put up, but I have 66 feet in the backyard. I sit on an acre, it's square, so I've got about 200 feet in each direction. The house kind of sits in the middle, so I've got room to put it up. So now the next step up for a lot of people, they want to spend money on an antenna. So they go to something like, let's see, I'm trying to remember the model number. 40. That's Cushcraft. Craft. AV 640. Okay, let's try AV 640 without the hyphen. Cushcraft vertical. Okay, here's the R9, the R8. Well, there's quite a few. Yeah, it's the high gain, I think. Anyway, there's a lot of different antennas that do this. Let's look at the R9 right here. It's $800, okay? It's a vertical and it works on 6, 10, 12, 15, 17, 20, 30, 40, and 80. Note that 60 is missing. It almost always is. Now I want you to look at how complicated this antenna is. It's got stuff going everywhere. These are special tricks that you can use to build. It's a half-wave vertical dipole, and it's end-fed right at the base. It's end-fed. The balun is in the box. Now note, these right here are not radials. They are counterpoises. They provide some capacitance for the antenna to, quote, work against. But this antenna can work on all those bands without any band switching. Some people, that's something that they really like, okay, and they want to be able to do things like that. Now, I just told you about my ARRL dipole that's been lengthened to 80 meters that works on 80, 40, 30, 20, 17, 15, 12, 10, 6 for under $100. So how do you decide which one to buy? This is sexy because there's lots of shiny aluminum. Okay, and I had an R7 at one point that did 20 through 10. And the work bands and so on. And it was a great antenna, worked very good for me. This is a good antenna for a rooftop mount. If you have a small backyard, and I mean small backyard, some of these backyards are really tiny. This takes up almost zero footprint, but you got to get it up about 10 feet in the air at a minimum, which is not hard to do. Okay, so what are we, oops. Oh man, I'm sorry, I'm terribly sorry. I was showing you the wrong thing. I was showing you an out-of-date, obsolescent chart. Okay, the R9 is a vertical, it's very shiny, it's got lots of aluminum on it. There's enough parts, there's over 200 parts and pieces in this thing, and it comes as a kit. They all do. For $800, you get the same thing that you would be getting for a dipole. So why not just put up the dipole if you have the room, okay? And, you know, maybe you want something shiny, but I'm going to tell you, you're not going to get any more gain out of it. You're just going to get a shiny antenna. It's up a little higher, so that'll help. But I've had antennas like this myself in the past. I had a HF9V. Trying to remember who made that. It's now made by DX Engineering. They took over the butternut antenna line. And so what was so cool about it was stinker to tune. If you want to see some butternut, look at this. Okay. This right here on my website, oh, it's a screen. This right here is looking up the butternut. Now they've got very expensive, big, high power RF capacitors here. And these are coils to get the inductance. These little things sticking out to the side act as capacitors. These are guy ropes over here. But that was, I thought, what would be good. This is an HF9V, which has gotten so old that every time the wind comes up along and it creaks things together, you don't get anything out of it. So, all right, let's go back to normal view. A commentariat antenna, yeah. I blew that one, I'm sorry. Okay, should a new ham buy an expensive antenna? I would recommend against it. For one thing, a dipole is so cheap that it will work. Now, remember, a dipole, if you can get it up some, A dipole will work just as well. A dipole's a unity gain antenna. So is one of these $800 verticals. So are these multiband verticals. You can only work one band at a time usually. And you don't get into gain antennas until you have to have a way not only to get it up in the air, but to rotate it. The antennas themselves sell for anything between $1,000 and $2,000. The rotator, I was just looking at the Ham 4 today on MFJ's advertisement in QST. They're in about $800 just for the rotator. And I had a tower priced out where somebody would come in and put a freestanding 50-foot tower in my backyard. $30,000. Now, I know you can do it cheaper. But you're talking a major expenditure of money. Now, my only gain antenna is the MFJ hex beam. And MFJ gave it to me to review. They also gave me the rotator to review. But I went down to Reclametta's and found aluminum Schedule 40. I think it's 1.5 inch Schedule 40 aluminum pipe. Now, I'm not talking about, the fence post or anything like that. This is a serious piece of aluminum. And it's 20 feet tall. So the thing's 20 feet in the air, maybe 25 feet in the air when you count the rotator and everything like that. And it took several of us to put it up. And it's going to take several of us tomorrow to bring it down because I've got to do some maintenance on it. The UV's been kind of hard on a couple pieces and now they're just hanging down. It's been up 5 years. So anyway, that's a long reaction to your question there. I would say start simple, and probably the first thing you'll upgrade will be the antenna. And there's nothing wrong with going to a multi-band dipole, or like the end-fed halfway from my antennas, or even the ARRL. They don't tell you, but if you extend the wire out to 80 meters, it'll go to 80 meters. So you can get a lot there. Okay, Robert Thompson. Hi, yes, the car from the show is here every few years for the fall festival. Very nice, Robert Thompson. Is there a difference in steel radios versus copper wire? Have several hundred feet of fence wire. Can you use it? Yes. Steel is a much worse conductor of electricity than is copper. Now, if you had copper weld, that'd be nice. But I'm afraid if you actually laid it on the ground, it would rust through. And that is the problem with the steel fence wire, too. If it's on the ground, it's going to rust. I'm assuming you're going to put the radials on the ground. I would recommend that you go down to Home Depot and for less than $100 buy a 500-foot roll of single wire, not Romex. Romex has 3 wires in it. And yes, you can slit Romex and string all those wires together. But single, the one I have is 12 gauge THHN, which has to do with the insulation, and it's stranded. And the nice thing about stranded, it is ever so much easier to deal with. So you buy a roll of that, you go over next door to Murdoch's or Tractor Supply or someplace like that and buy electric fence insulators. They're cheap. And the one thing you need is if you're going to, make your coax detachable, or you buy your coax with ends already on it, is an SO239 connector, so you have something to screw the coax on. if you're just putting bulk coax in, or you're willing to like chop the cable, you can separate it and put the inner conductor soldered to one side and the outer conductor, the braid stuff, soldered to the other conductor. Now, is that okay? I mean, that you would think would be not best practice, but I will tell you that a lot of people will put a balun, because it is unbalanced line feeding a balanced antenna. So you want a one-to-one balun if you're going to do a one-to-one balun. A lot of people put choke baluns in there. I don't put anything in there, and I've never had a problem. In fact, years ago when I was in the Air Force, just getting training, so it would have been about 1976, they had a special event station down at the airport for the Boy Scouts. And so I went down to help operate it on the midshift. And they had strung up an 80-meter dipole and put a balun on it, and we could never get the thing to tune. So when the guy who was really pushing for the balun left, I took that balun out and I hooked the wires directly, and it worked. And I worked, oh, so many stations. I was in Mississippi, worked people all over the country because they wanted the prefix. They were prefix hunters. And so it's very, very interesting. So I would recommend copper. It's not that expensive. I would insulate it and lay it out on the ground. And you can use lawn staples. These are Vigoro fabric and garden staples. And you can get these at Home Depot. These are just pieces of wire like this. So you lay your wire out on the ground, kind of stretch it out, put a lawn staple over it, go a few feet further down and do that. And within a year or two, actually maybe even just a season, the wire gets all the way down to the ground, and every time you cut the grass, all that dead grass starts to pile over it and everything. And a couple years you won't even know they're there. You just mow right over them. Now the reason I recommend insulated radials is because if you use bare copper, bare anything, for your radials, you start to get a mix of a radial system, which is a capacitive sort of counterpoise, and grounding. The first time I put up the HF9V, I put out 12 20-foot radials and I buried them about 5 inches in the ground. The antenna worked terribly. And I couldn't figure out why. I finally figured out that what I had done was created a pretty big ground rod for that thing. And it's not ground you want to work against. You want to work against those radials. Because as the voltage goes up on the antenna, it goes up going out those radials too. So, long way around the barn. Would think the fence wire would rust. Don't know. If it's galvanized, it's probably okay. But how would they do in the ground? If you're going to bury a radial, don't go more than about an inch, and do use insulated wire, because otherwise you are flirting with making it a ground, and the ground part just becomes resistive, and that's not what you want. Okay. The Wandering Musician, Jordan Hoffman, had a lot of fun with just wire dipoles for a long time, yes. I don't have any trees, may have to figure out how to get some height on the cheap. Well, let's just go take a look. If we go back to the screen again, and we go to Studio, and let's see, fence. No. Mast. Okay, I've got a video on a 30-foot mast using Home Depot parts, but what I would recommend Is this all of them? No, there's 2 more. Okay, here we go. This one. See if it's not going to go up. Let me do this and then do this. Okay. It's 250. Ask Dave number 250. How to make a 20-foot mast with 2 pieces of metal from Home Depot. What you do is you go down to Home Depot and get their electric fence. I'm sorry. Boy, I blew that one. Okay. Go down to Home Depot and get their chain link fence steel top rail. They're 10 feet long and they have a little part about that big that will slip into the next pole. And that's about as high as I would go with those, would be 20 feet. And you guy it. Of course, you got to guy it at the top. You should use rope that is UV resistant and does not stretch. Paracord, by the way, stretches. But you want something that doesn't. Or you can go down to Home Depot and get something that'll work. And now what I do is I put a pulley at the top. And a pulley at the bottom, and I've got the ability then to raise an antenna up. And if I need to make changes, down it comes. And that's the way I've got one of those 30-foot dipoles. They're over $200 for the parts. That was the only concern I have with it. It stayed up in our recent winds. Now up at the top, I have a bracket that comes out and a pulley. And I can pull things up on that and get them tight and so on. Now, just a little aside on using metal masts. Put about 3 feet of rope between the top of the mast and the antenna. I did some modeling on this. If you bring your antenna any closer to a metal mast, the metal mast starts to become part of the antenna. And we don't need that. Okay. Ground-mounted antennas work too. That's the way my vertical is. Works very well. Can you explain the difference or similarities between loading coils and traps? Yes. A loading coil is inductance. It's just inductance. And if you add inductance at the bottom of a vertical antenna, it will electrically lengthen the antenna. So you can get a 10-foot piece of mast. This is how Wolf River coils works. You get a mast, however tall you can get a mast, and then you add inductance at the bottom, and it will eventually resonate very nicely. Now, obviously, you've got to think, there's got to be a catch here somewhere. The catch is that the more loading you add, the narrower the bandwidth of the antenna. And I was just showing the other day, they've already been put away. My assistant is too efficient. You can get these ready-made from MFJ or anybody else. The generic name is ham sticks, which actually is a trademark name, but it's become like Kleenex. Everybody uses it. So anyway, that is a loading coil. And the load is the inductance in there. And then the antenna is too short. And being too short, it is capacitive. And so you add capacitance, inductance, and the whole thing will resonate with a low enough Q that it can cover the entire band on 40 and up. Not always on 40, on 20 usually end up. Okay, now a trap. The way a trap works, you've got piece of wire that's a half-wave dipole on 40 meters. Now, you've got the center here. So halfway to the center, you put in a capacitor and a coil that together have a resonant frequency that's in between the 20 and 40 meter band. Okay. Now, if 20 meters comes down and hits that, it's looking at an infinite impedance, and so it just goes back. Okay, and then you vary the position of the trap to get the 20 meter part to work right. Now, what's left on the other side goes right straight through that trap because it's tuned for that, and the thing will work on 40 meters. Now, there's a catch. The catch is that you got that inductor there that's part of the trap. That acts as loading for the rest of the 40 meter antenna. So you can see all the design features you've got to juggle here to get that thing to work right. And if that 40 meter antenna ends up being too short, then it won't cover the whole band. And that's why I was looking at the DXEE antenna made by Alpha Delta. And I got one because I thought, hey, this is going to be great. It's going to be 40, 20, 15, and 10. Well, as it turned out, they used traps, which not only trapped the 20 meter, which was fine, but the 40 meter was so loaded that the whole antenna was only 42 feet long instead of the normal 66 feet. And it would not cover the entire 40 meter band. And I thought, that kills it as a reference antenna, so we went with something different. Okay, ground mounted explain difference between loading coils and traps. Quaternions are beginning to be used in computer programming. The notation today is different from that used by Maxwell. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I know they're still around, and they're still quaternion devotees. There's probably a hot spring in the Himalayas that's named quaternion. Okay, because they never ever die. But you can do some interesting things with them. Maxwell had 20 equations or so, but it took a guy by the name of Oliver Heaviside to invent something called operational calculus. And he was able to reduce Maxwell's equations to 4 vector functions. And they completely, between them, describe all electromagnetism. Okay, now we're not talking about at the quantum level, but close. But it describes all electromagnetism, which is a major, major, major force in the universe, the the electromagnetic field. Okay, which, like the force, it surrounds us. Anyway, you can measure the strength of the force. As hams, we're not interested in super weak forces. We are interested in something that can make our receiver make noise. Okay, Tom Voodoo, good evening, Dave. Plan on putting a grounded alpha delta switch right outside where the coax enters the shack. I can switch the transmit side open and ground the antenna if a storm is near. I have those switches. I've got 2 antenna switches here, one for the SDR receiver portion and one for the operational portion. And they're in the house. Now they have the little lightning protector do-goody in it. And these are carefully grounded. But I have outside the actual lightning protection. And there's a video, it's either coming out or has come out, about that big green box that I just put up out there. It's my interface where all of the cables come come to the lightning arresters. They're all in a protected box. It's real near the ground rod, and then they come into the house. And it's really nice. It was kind of an expensive box, but again, I was given it so I could review it. So I want to share. You know, people give me these things so that I will show them to you. Now, I had a very recent encounter with alpha antennas. Alpha antennas. They sent me at their expense, but I have to return it. Usually they let me keep it, but I have to return it. Their version of what other people might do the same thing with a buddy pole. Okay, it's different. You can watch the videos on it. They had a hub at the center that everything hooked into, and it was 3D printed plastic. And the whole thing fell over overnight in the wind. And I went out in the morning, and where the way they print around and around and around and around, and basically the new layer laminates to the layer below it. Well, in the crash down to the ground, several of the things in there delaminated. And so I fixed that by putting screws all the way through the thing and out the other side, so it couldn't delaminate any further. Well, I got a notification that from the company, and I got a notification from the Alpha Antennas saying that they're going to take my fix and make it their permanent way of doing things. So they got a new one that they're sending to me. So that'll be good. I would now you have to go outside to change that thing. That would be my concern, because outside is not where you want to be when there's lightning in the area. So multiple ways of doing it, but I would prefer you have your lightning arresters outside, and then the switches are in here. They have additional voltage surge protection in there of the same kind, and it can help you there. These are heavily grounded straight to the station central point ground. Please let me know if that's a good or bad idea. Ton, I would suggest that you put lightning arresters out at the ground rod, bring all your cables to its own lightning arrestor down there, and then bring the cable into the house. You want to keep those lightning arresters outside. Now, the Delta switches do have the lightning arresters in them, and that's a marketing advantage, okay? Other switches don't have that, but there it is. Okay, Charles Layton says, good evening from Arkansas. Lieutenant Colonel Nicholson, have you tried Meshtastic? I have not. I've heard about it, but I've not used it. Brad, no. N6GR, not Brad Smith. Brad, oh God. Brad and I haven't talked in a while, and that's a shame. He is such a cool guy. N6GR, I remember his call sign, remember what he looks like, but it's Brad Rich. Brad Rich, and has a wonderful picture on his QRZ page. Well, I'll just show it to you. He is in Alamogordo, New Mexico, and he has a parrot. He's had a parrot for quite a few. He's also what he's calling free flying, his African gray parrot, whom he calls Draco. It's the lower African gray flying in ground effect, watching the photographer. So now I got to tell you about Brad Rich's station. I've got a video on it. When I talk about major antenna, he has a major antenna. It's a step IR It's a 3-element beam up 75 feet in the air. And I went down there and took a bunch of pictures of it and took some of his pictures. And you can find it in, well, let's go back and see if we can find it. Channel content, we'll search for N6GR. No, if I did it right, N6GR. And Brad, I apologize to you. Here are his two, N6GR, N6GR. One about the grounding that they did, and one about the tower and beam. So that's number 243 and 244. And Brad is a great guy, and Brad, I'm really sorry. Don't send any mail bombs or anything for getting your name wrong. That is not excusable. It really isn't. I'm very sorry. Okay, so we're here. Did Brad, N6GR, Brad Smith? Yeah, sorry about that. I really am. I really am. Okay, now we've received so far $20 in the chat revenue. This chat revenue is very important to me because I pay the assistant with that. I'm just getting some more QSL cards, as a matter of fact. I just took this down to a local printer, and you can see that I made it from an old picture of mine where I looked better, and I used a typewriter to make it. I mean, typewriters are cool, and I remember when my assistant walked in for the first time, he looked over here on my workbench and saw the typewriter, and he says, "What is that?" I said, "Well, it's a typewriter." So anyway, that's what it's going to look like. Now, the reason I'm having them made is because we're getting on the air, which we're going to do right now. Okay, let's see if we can find a decent frequency. We are on D, which is the big IR. And I want to go to 40 meters. I'll turn on the power. Now, hopefully you'll be able to hear this. And if you want to get on this same frequency, let's see, I need to change this to 7. I want to get 7. 7210. The frequency is 7228. 7228. And, oops, 7228 kilohertz. Let's see. Is this frequency in use? Is this frequency in use? This is Dave Casler, KE0OG, with our Thursday evening net that goes along with the non-monetized Thursday evening live stream. And we try to get a little bit of time on the air so people have a chance to kind of hear each other. Let me get this over here. How much power? I've got 100% going out, and I suppose I can turn this on and see what's going out too. So this is KE0OG QRZ. Okay, the mobile station, could you come again a little slower? Okay, I got the Sacramento mobile. I'm sorry. I gotta shut this little thing off. It's beeping. Could you just come back with your call sign one more time? Kilo Mike 6, November Foxtrot Oscar. You're about a 4x5 right now. I'm having trouble reading you because of the static. And my name is Dave, Delta Alpha Victor Echo. I'm located in Ridgeway, Colorado. And nice to talk to you via mobile this evening. And back to you, KM6NFO. Here's KE0OG.
Sacramento, and I'm rolling up to my home here, running a FT891, in my truck with a stick on the roof, and I have you booming into my truck. I'm booming into my truck at 5.9 all the way. Roger, Roger, back to you.
Okay, Roger, Roger. Yeah, your signal came up quite a bit there. Well, fine business for being in Sacramento or near there. And going away from the river, so I have heard that the weather out there has been challenging over the last few weeks. I was born in Modesto, which is not far from you, and grew up in Southern California, so I've got a lot of California heritage. Both my kids were born in California, so they're Californians too. So you're running an FT891, I'm running an ICOM 7300. To a step IR, big IR vertical. So I'll turn it back to you for a final there, and then I'm going to see if any of the other net participants are around. So I'm going to wish you 73 this time around. Kilo Mike 6, November Foxtrot Oscar. Here's Kilo Echo 0 Oscar Golf.
Roger, it's good to meet you on the air, Dave. Good to meet you on the air. I listen to the live stream every week. I love your channel. So good to meet you, 73. And I'll go ahead and clear off next day for other people. Here's KM6NFO.
Well, 73 to you. And this is KE0OG. QRZ.
Whiskey 1, Juliet Golf Mike.
Whiskey 1, Juliet Golf Mike. Here's Kilo Echo 0 Oscar Golf. Name is Dave, located in Ridgeway, Colorado. You've got a nice 5.7 signal here, real easy to copy. So back to you.
Well, thank you very much, Dave. John here in Connecticut, and we're working a 7300 in on-off center fed dipole. And I just have your podcast running on the tablet, and heard you get on the radio, and thought I would get back in here and say a big hello from Connecticut to you.
Okay, very good. I've actually been to Connecticut and visited the league headquarters. Oh, gee, 2 or 3 decades ago. I don't think much has changed in that time, at least as far as the building is concerned. I got there on a weekend, so I couldn't go into the main building, but I did get a cook's tour of W1AW. That was a lot of fun. Well, John, very nice to meet you this evening. I'm going to say 73 and see who else we've got. So W1JGM, KE0OG, 73.
This is Whiskey 7, Papa Foxtrot, Yankee. I really do enjoy your podcast. Keep up the good work. And got into the league that was about an hour away. I've operated up there several times. And always a great thing. Dave 73 and
Okay, very good. Thank you. This is KE0OG, QRZ. N6GR, Brad Rich, not Smith. I am so sorry about that. How are you this evening?
Don't worry about it. I'm fine. I actually had a laugh.
Whoops, you disappeared.
Are you there? Can you copy?
Yeah, I can copy you now. You just disappeared for a second.
Okay, maybe my push-to-talk switch is a little wonky. Great signal, by the way, 5.9 plus 20 down here.
Well, you are definitely 5'9", and Very nice signal. I have a feeling I have some idea as to what antenna you're using. Can you run that tri-band, or that tri-band, 3 element on 40 meters?
Yeah, I'm on the Yagi right now. Actually, it's 2 elements on 30 and 40. So you're hearing the effects of 2 elements. Let me switch to the vertical and see how it is. Okay, here's the vertical. Any difference?
Oh yeah, major difference. A couple S units, although I can hear you quite clearly with that. Go ahead.
Yeah, the Yagi usually wins. In fact, I got a wire at about 40 feet, and it usually beats the vertical. Over.
Yeah, I know what you mean. The trick to the vertical is the ground plane. So I've got like 30 radials on that thing, spread in every different direction. And as scattershot as it is, it seems to work pretty good. Well, Brad, it's really good to talk to you, and thank you again for your absolutely essential help putting up the big IR. So I'm going to say 73, and we'll see if we can get some other people on the net this evening. N6GR in Alamogordo, New Mexico. Brad, this is Dave, KE0OG 73.
Okay, 73 KE0OG and 60R. Whiskey 7 Papa Foxtrot Yankee.
Whiskey 7 Papa Foxtrot Yankee. Okay, Yankee is not an E. Whiskey 7 Papa Foxtrot Yankee. This is Dave, KE0OG in Colorado. And you've got a nice signal. I'll give you a signal report next time around. Over to you.
Thanks, Dave. I've been watching your show for a long time. You helped me get my station on the air, and I would tell your listeners the MFJ 2010 off-center set dipole is a great antenna to run from the apex of the roof down to your property somewhere. If they can't go up that, go to the smoking roof 2040, and carry on, Dave, and thank you. Whiskey 7 Papa Foxtrot Yankee, back to you, Dave.
Okay, I'm just noting the time here. Tell me your name again.
This is Darren Hedson in Bounty, Utah, Whiskey 7 Papa Foxtrot Yankee.
Okay, Darren, thank you so very much. I appreciate that. And I'm glad that that antenna, it is still the reference antenna, works so well for you. The thing I like about it is it's simple. Not much can go wrong with it. So, and it's already got the SO239 for those who buy their coax with the ends already installed. So glad to hear that it's working well for you. So Darren, 73, and we'll talk to you again and see what else we can work tonight.
Well, we had an alien fly over there putting in a lot of noise. Sorry, say again.
Oh, I'm just saying thank you very much. You were hitting S9 here on the absolutely unbiased S meter that this 7300 has. And I just wanted to say thank you for the conversation. And Darren, I will be moving on to see who else we can have. So 73 to you and back for a final.
Roger, thank you, 73.
This is KE0OG, QRZ.
November 7, Golf, Papa Golf.
November 7, Papa Golf. November 7, Golf, Papa Golf. Here is Kilo Echo Zero Oscar Golf. Name is Dave in Ridgeway, Colorado. You've got a nice strong signal here, about a 5.9. So back to you.
Yeah, hello there, Dave. The name here is Keith, and I'm in Spanish Fork, Utah. And I've watched your videos. I appreciate your videos. They're good ones. And lots of good information on them. And I was just kind of surprised to hear you on the air tonight. It's the first time I've heard you on the air, and thought I'd just say hi and everything. I'm working you with a ICOM 7300, and I've got an NFED half-wave, my antenna's version of it, NFED half-wave, and running probably looks like about 600 watts in. So yeah, the antenna's not that high up. It's only about maybe 20 feet, and I have it running along the back fence of the yard. It actually is kind of almost like a inverted, well, kind of a horizontal inverted L, I guess, would be the best way to describe it. But seems to work all right. So, but anyway, just wanted to jump in there and say hi and appreciate the contact.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Keith. Appreciate that. And it sounds like you've got a real nice station there with that end-fed half wave, and the 600 watts means you've got an amplifier of some kind. Tell me about your amp.
Well, it's an Ameritron AL80B, and the end-fed half wave is the high power version of the. I think they actually have a higher power version than this one now, but it's the high power version of the my antenna's end-fed, and it's the 80 through 10 meter, and it gives me good results. I enjoy it, and so by the way, I don't think I gave you a signal report. I've got you almost 20 over here, so really good signal over this way.
Okay, well, it's 5.9 in both directions, and thank you very much for the contact, and good luck. And I've noticed that I've managed to hit the up and down buttons on my microphone, and we've moved. We're at 7228 instead of 7233, where I started, or where did I start? I don't see it up there. I've lost track. Okay. Thank you very much for your contact. I'm going to say 73 and see if there's somebody else there. And so I'll say 73 and back to you for a final.
Okay, well, real good. Appreciate the contact, and I'll be watching more of your videos and everything, and appreciate those. And I'll say 73 to you too, and have a good night there, Dave. We'll maybe catch up with you a little bit later. N7GPG.
N7GPG. KE0OG 73s, and here's KE0OG, QRZ.
Whiskey portable QRP.
Oh, the portable QRP. Come back again.
Yeah, Roger, it's Kilo 4, November Echo Whiskey, over.
Give me that call again, I got it all messed up.
Okay, it's K4 new. K4 new. K4 November Echo Whiskey.
Okay, very good. And tell me about your station. You say you're running QRP.
Roger, I'm running a 705, and I'm just an Icon 705. I'm out camping in between Quartzsite and Yuma, and I just have a 40-meter dipole off of a fiberglass kite pole. And what was your call?
I'm KE0OG, Kilo Echo 0 Oscar Golf. And I'm doing this on the air thing while I'm also doing a live stream, non-monetized of course. And because I've got a channel about ham radio, you can find it by going to youtube.com/Dave Casler, all one word, DAVECASLER. And between Quartzsite and Yuma, I think I may have driven right through there. I was in Quartzsite and went down to Yuma to cross the border for some dental work. That's a very nice area, and I imagine the weather is very nice right now. Although, from what I've seen, you guys have gotten quite a bit of rain. Back to you, K4 NEW, KE0OG.
Yeah, Roger. I knew I recognized the call. I've seen some of your videos. I just couldn't get the picture in my head. But anyway, I pulled it up and I know who you are now. So that's cool. Was on the, I don't know if you know the Coffee and Ham Radio guys, but they had me on their show. Oh, let's see. I think maybe it was last Saturday or the Saturday before. So anyway, that was fun. But yeah, just operating out here in the desert, 10 watts out of my favorite radio in the world, the Icon 705.
Well, very good, very good. And tell me, let's see. Did you tell me your name? I don't see it written in my scribbles here.
Yeah, it's Jason. Name is Jason, over.
Okay, Jason, thank you so very much for contacting me this evening. And we missed Quartz Fest this year. Both my wife and I had COVID, so we couldn't do that. But yeah, I really miss Quartz Fest. We'd been down there for a while. My wife has a sister who winters in Quartzfest, so that's where they are now. We were hoping to get down there and see them. Well, thank you very much, and thank you for telling me about your station. I'm running the ICOM 7300 here, and we'll talk to you again soon. So I'm going to say 73, turn it back to you for a final, and K4NEW, QRP, here's KE0OG.
Yeah, KE0OG, K4 November Echo Whiskey. The 705, and then I have a 7300 as a base station, and I'll get out of here because I know you wanted to make some more contacts, but I'm just kind of curious if you're using a solid state amp with a 7300 at all, and if you've had if you know anything about overshoot, or if you've experienced overshoot on the 7300. Over.
Jason, I have not. I've read a little bit about that. I should put it on the scope and find out for sure if that's actually what it does. The amp that I have is an Ameritron ALS 500M, and it has no, what's the feedback? It does not feedback to shut the exciter down a little bit if it's delivering too much. So I have to manually turn the power down to about 62 watts, and then I can use the amplifier with it. But I've not had a problem with overshoot. Go ahead.
Okay, and I don't think you would notice it on that amp. I think it's the newer LD MOS amps that are experiencing it. But I'm no expert in the oscilloscope, but I actually put mine on the scope, and I couldn't see any overshoot. But I've had my amp going online, and everybody, the amp manufacturer says it's overshoot. I just can't see it on the scope. But okay, I'll let you run. Thanks for the info there, and we'll keep watching your channel. Enjoy it. KE0OG, K4NEW, 73 on your final.
Okay, and 73 to you, K4NEW, and it is now past time for the end of the live stream. So I'll just say 73 to anybody listening, and I will be QRT.
Yeah, break for Jason down there. Jason, please, I think.
Okay, I just turned the radio off. That was fun. This is the third week in a row we've done it, and everybody I've talked to will get one of my new QSL cards. I should have them as soon as this coming week. So I'll get those out. You can QSL any way you want. I prefer either paper or Logbook of the World. So, and I'll try and get these up so they'll get on Logbook of the World too. So I'm going to say 73. Yeah, the overshoot is where kilo, but I have a hilo. Interesting. I'll play with that, see if there's some overshoot. What overshoot is that if you turn down the power on the radio, the first syllable will come blasting through at 100 watts, and then it will back off to whatever power you've set. And that can be a real problem for amplifiers and stuff like that. And it depends on how the radio implements its power reduction feature. So, thank you all so very much. Let's see what we've got. We got several people got in here. And I'll just acknowledge the super chats if I can. Quaternions and Hamilton are like zombies compared to the vector calculus. Heaviside and Gibbs, yes, okay. Doug, we FinLaps have over 100 words for snow. Yes. Okay, Optical Man Jeff added $15 and says, thanks, Dave, for all you do. We all appreciate all the time that you spend helping us out. Thank you. How high is 50 feet? You can go into Google and type into the address bar just what is 50 feet in meters. It will tell you. On Lee, N7NH, hello. Leo, I reckon I should have signed up for the third-party insurance. Lesson learned, yeah. I never have either, I should have. Von Ziegel added $10 to the chat revenue without comment. At least my 78 CG5 is nearing completion. Wow. And found a can of Dissolvate up Salem Way to fix some electrical anomalies in my van. It was nowhere to be found around here. I have up in a box up there a full collection of everything that Deoxit sells. They sent that to me about 3 or 4 years ago. So I did a few videos, you know, because I use Deoxit when I'm trying to fix things. And they've got something for everything, I'll tell you. There's quite a bit of stuff there. So 7228, yes. I guess I can call out to Dave in spirit until I fix my antenna. Yeah, here's KE0OG. Is 5.4 there. Okay, let's get down. Okay, we're down to the bottom. So, we're over time. Sorry about that. I want to say 73 to all of you. It's a true pleasure to not only talk to you, but to hear from you on the radio. And I think a couple of those were just people who happened to hear. And that's neat. That's what CQ is for. So, until we next meet, 73.